so tubby, guys.
Okay, so we have some more creepypastas for you today.
Yes, well, one.
Oh, one creepypasta, yes.
Frick.
So, go watch our first creepypasta video with Lady Killers and the Accomplices. Sounds like a band name, doesn't it?
The Lady Killers and the
Honey, there's not going to be any singing from me.
Why do we both?
What good are you then?
To be loved by anyone.
Are we only doing Tom Jones? Because I'm aboard.
Apparently
When
that's
the
the theme.
lights go out, I want to watch the way you take
How are we ignoring What's New Pussycat?
He sings that all the time, you guys. I want y'all to know. He sings it to Mitsuha all the time. Okay, so creepypastas. Lady Killers. Hi, hello.
I'm Kaylin.
Kaylin, I'm Janine.
Jason.
These are our accomplices.
Yeah.
You don't
This
need
is
to be a
Jason.
strong,
This is
independent.
my boy, but also our boy. And this is the good boy.
The boy.
The boy.
The queen of boys.
This is
Me.
Isaiah.
The Queen of Men.
The queen of men.
Okay, so Lady Killers and the Accomplices, we're back here again. Not in the same pajamas that we were in the last one, in the
Definitely
same
not.
place. Drinking the hot chocolate out of the same mugs, definitely not.
But
But yeah, we're reading some more creepypastas today. Caitlin, take it away.
yeah, so what we're reading is this like thing called the Kimberly Story, which is actually an audio scary story typically, but I'm gonna try to read it and do it justice. But we read it when we were like listened to it when we were like 15, right? And it was like a big thing among our like friend group.
I would actually recommend, even if you watch this, I would recommend listening to the actual recording of it.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but he's a high school.
Ed.
Ed Hermansky?
Yeah.
I would really recommend like actually listening to the recording because it is super spooky. It's supposedly a real story. He's a high school professor, teacher, whatever you'd call him. I don't know, whatever.
Maybe it's science. I don't know.
I don't know. And he's telling it to his class. Someone in his class recorded
This is
them,
in
so.
Arizona.
And so did somebody record like the lecture that he was doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, someone in his class recorded him telling the story. So
Oh, this actually happens in Texas.
yeah,
Oh,
it
honey,
happens in
no.
El Paso.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
is arguably in Texas.
It's in Texas.
Sometimes.
Arguably.
Arguably.
Oh, it's El Paso, Texas.
Argue.
I mean, true story. We live in Houston. It is quicker to drive from Houston to Atlanta than it is to drive from Houston to El Paso.
Well, that's just because Texas.
And we live in
Is
the
big.
middle of Texas too. I mean, Houston's
Yeah.
more or
We're
less
not even
in the
on the
middle.
edge.
I mean, it's
I'm
down,
on the
but it's
edge.
like.
Of Texas! Oh.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
All right.
So, this is from the perspective of Ed. So I'm just gonna pretend I'm him. This happened when I first started teaching in El Paso, Texas, Walter Clark Middle School where I worked. And there was a young girl named Kimberly in my classroom. Kimberly was a very quiet, very shy girl, and she was in my class for about 2 months before she just disappeared. We don't know what happened to her, so we contacted the counselor and said she hadn't been to school in about a week, and they said, yeah, we've tried to contact the parents, we're not getting a response, we don't know what's happened to her, we're just going to assume they left and moved. I guess it was about a month and a half later, I was teaching class, and the door opened, and I could tell by the look on my students' faces that something was very wrong. So I turned around, and standing in the doorway was Kimberly. Kimberly wasn't a very big girl to begin with, and she really looked bad. She had a long white dress on. It was dirty. Her fingernails were yellow. She looked emaciated. Her eyes were sunk in her head. Her hair, she had really long, pretty hair, but it was matted. I turned around and said, Kimberly, what's wrong? And she just stared at me. I said, Kimberly, what's wrong? And she looked down at her hand and she just started to rub it. She said, poor Kimberly. I said, Kimberly, what happened, honey? And she just stared at me and kept rubbing her hands. So I called security and said, please send somebody up to look after my class. And I took Kimberly down to the nurse. The nurse said, oh my God, who is this? And I said, this is Kimberly. What happened to her? The nurse said. I said, I have no idea. She showed up to my class this way. Well, at Walter Clark Middle School, all the students were allowed to pick a teacher to be their mentor to help them if something happens, and Kimberly had listed me as her mentor. That's how I became involved in this story. The security said we need to call the police, obviously, with the condition she's in, which we did. And the police officer that showed up, his name is Johnny. And Johnny is still a police officer in El Paso. He's a high-ranking detective now, and we're still very, very good friends. And it started from this Kimberly story. Johnny came in, introduced himself. I explained to him what happened, and he said, we need to get her to the hospital, which is the first thing, and then we need to try to locate the parents. So they take her to the hospital, they give her IVs, and they find out that she was very, very almost starved. And they also find out that she's in a state of shock, and they say she's insane. And they take her to Alpine, Texas, that has a sanatorium for people who have severe, severe problems. And they take her over there. Johnny contacted me about a week later and said, hey, I have to go over to the house. Would you like to go along? I said, sure, absolutely. So her house is in a little town called Fabens. Fabens is right outside El Paso, right off I-10. It's about a 200, almost 300-year-old city. I mean town. It's been there forever. It's right on the border of Mexico and the United States. So we drive to Fabens, we exit, and we go up a street called Shoemaker Street and turn right on First, and there's these old houses. Real old houses, 2-3-story houses that have been there since the turn of the century. A lot of old trees, very old area. And a lot of houses are abandoned. People are not even living in them anymore. Well, we get to Kimberly's house, and it's a 3-story red brick building. Very, very old, very narrow. Funny, it was a very narrow house.
So as a reminder, this is a transcription of the guy telling the story. So if there's like stumbles or he starts to say something but then kind of backtracks a little bit, I mean,
right.
This is a
And she's
word-for-word transcription.
reading it verbatim, so.
Yeah.
I don't want to... I kind of want to give you guys an idea of, like, how he tells it a little bit.
No, you're doing
but-
great.
No, you're doing good. This is why we, I know,
Mama's
this
little
is why we
champion.
let the drama, I almost said queen, not actual drama queen, but
That's
the, like,
me.
Yeah.
the, you know, actually has some experience in acting, whereas we are just...
And we're taken back to that street in Fabens.
Yes, here we, okay.
And before I go any further, I told you I don't believe in ghosts or any of that kind of stuff, and I still don't. Johnny, however, believes in everything. He's very easy to spook. He's a heck of a police officer. He's been in shootouts, he's been in everything. He's a very brave man, but he's scared of everything, okay? So we go up to the house, and we have to walk up these old steps, and Johnny's looking going, that's a spooky looking place. And I said, yeah. Well, you go first, he says. And I said, Johnny, you're the cop man, you got the gun. Oh yeah, says Johnny.
In a slightly Minnesotan accent.
Oh yeah.
Don't you know?
In El Paso. Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
You're right.
That wasn't even Minnesota, that was like,
yeah.
what was that?
That
You're
was
right.
oh, lassie.
And a whole range of accents, apparently.
Johnny's
He
just
dabbles.
a cultural man.
He's like, Camaro.
Karima.
Camaro.
Caramo.
Caramo. From Queer Eye.
Camouflage.
He's just very cultured.
This is the second time tonight I've had to do that.
So Johnny walks over and he grabs the door, and I can't really explain this, maybe a gust of wind or whatever. As soon as he grabs the door opens. Johnny goes, now you're going first, man.
Me.
I said, I'll go, I'm okay, I'll go, I don't care. So I walk up the stairs and walk in, it's very dark in there. And one thing I noticed is the smell. It's a dirty, dusty kind of smell, almost a burnt smell. Like, I'll never forget it, but it's hard to describe. And there's one big room as you walk in. There's some couches and stuff, and there's a set of wooden chairs that go up to the second and third floor. And we went up there, and sure enough, third floor looks like it's Kimberly's bedroom, and you can tell she had slept in the bed, but nothing else. We went down to the second floor where her parents' bedroom was. The parents hadn't slept in that bed for a long time. The bed was made, and nobody's been in there for a long time. Clothes were still in the closet. Go downstairs in the living room, past the living room. You go through a hallway, and there's a kitchen. You walk into the kitchen, and there was a funny smell in the kitchen, you know, this weird smell. And Johnny's looking around the cabinets and stuff, and I can't tell you why, but the refrigerator caught my attention. Maybe because it was old. One of those big, old, round ones. And I open it, and the smell almost knocked me down. On the inside of the door was a dog, and it had been attacked. On the inside of the door were nails. It had been completely disemboweled. All the insides were out, and it stunk terribly. Well, Johnny calls animal control, and they come down and move the carcass. Johnny said, hey, give me a report back. I need to know what happened to that dog. Tell me anything you can. And they say, sure. I guess about another week went by and Johnny says, hey, I want to go talk to Kimberly. I'd sure like for you to be there. I said, sure, absolutely. Johnny says, she knows you. She doesn't know me. I said, sure. We go on a Saturday. The Alpines are about an hour and a half away from El Paso. So we're driving to the Alpines and Johnny's kind of quiet. Johnny, what's up? He goes, oh man, we got to report back on that dog. Oh, what does it say? Well, the dog had been completely disemboweled. I said, yeah, that's pretty obvious. He said, but it was disemboweled with 2 fine razor-like objects. It was almost surgically removed. Everything was perfect. I said, really? And he said, yeah, it's weird. He said its tongue was cut out and the dog had a collar on it. Didn't see it because it was bloated up a little bit. You couldn't really see it. Had a collar on it. I guess the dog was named after a linebacker for Chicago Bears, Dick Butkus. They called it Butkus. And I said, yeah, I've heard of that guy.
It's a guy. It's a real guy. With really, really sadistic parents.
My name is Dick
Yikes.
Butkus. But the weird part...
Dick Butkus.
Why doesn't he just go by Richard? I assume his name is Richard.
Richard
Like,
Butkus.
With a last name like
Just as
Butkus,
bad.
but that's
your destiny has
Dick
been written
Butkus.
for you. Dick
Butkus.
Just imagine him in school. Is there a dick butt kiss?
Well, they think it's like one of those like pranks, when, It's
There
okay.
All right, who put Dick Butkus in?
And I said, yeah, I heard of that guy.
I know him. We go way back.
And they laughed because it was a hilarious name.
I know him personally. But the weird part, says Johnny, is we found this hair inside the cavity of the dog. I said, dog's got hair, Johnny.
Dumbass, so
Doing some
fucking
education
sassy.
here.
Like,
Mr.
dude,
Professor.
stop being such a smart ass.
Professor Ed, if I remember correctly.
Excuse me. He goes, no, it's a Rottweiler mix kind of dog, generally. Short hair. We found really long hair inside the dog, almost 7 inches long. I said, what's weird about that? Johnny says, well, we did an analysis on the hair. It's mostly black and a brown tip at the end, and the hair's hollow inside. I said, don't some animals have that? Johnny said, well, I thought so. According to the people who are at animal control, they said that only comes off of a gorilla or an ape-like creature. I said, there's none of that stuff in El Paso or in this area. He goes, I know. That's literally written. I have to go,
Curious
Take a moment to think about this. So, which is funny because that means he also probably said, while telling this story.
Imagine.
What could it mean?
I love this accent. Oh.
Oh, could it mean?
Very fascinating, Carol.
Fascinating indeed.
Carol.
Sharon,
I think I've learned a thing.
I learned a thing or two.
I think it's strange.
It's what the kids call peculiar.
It's what my nephew calls wacky.
I can't.
Go.
There's no way I can even combat that
That's
one.
what my nephew would call wacky.
Downright yeet.
Lit AF.
No.
As frick.
My wig was snatched.
So where were we? Yes.
So, we get to the sanatorium in Alpine. It's just like a prison. It's terrible. So we go inside and the director meets us and he said, hey, Kimberly's not doing too good now. We've almost had to force feed her. She's just not talking. We've got a camera up in the room because we've got to make sure they don't hurt themselves. She walks around. We can see her lips moving. She's talking. We don't know what she's saying. She walks up to the walls a lot and just looks at them. Okay. They bring her in the conference room, so Johnny and I are in there, and she comes in, and she just looks at me for a minute, and almost for a second, it looked like she was gonna smile. Maybe because she recognized somebody. So I said, Kimberly, honey, how are you doing? She just stares. Kimberly, where's your mom and dad? She just stares. Kimberly, where's your dog? And then she kind of looked funny. Looked over at Johnny and looked back at me, and I said, honey, you know your dog is dead. And she looked at her hand and she started rubbing it. She looked around and said, they live in the walls. I said, what, honey? They live in the walls. I said, what lives in the walls? Nothing can live in a wall, honey. And she kept looking and she put her head down and she just rubbed her hand. She wouldn't talk anymore, didn't say nothing. They took her back to her room. Johnny and I head back to El Paso. He said, hey, we got to do an investigation on the house. They're going to go and dig up the back of the garden. Back there's like another old building, a shack and all that stuff, and go over the papers. I said, well, let me know. Johnny and me were starting to become really good friends, and we were going golfing on a Sunday, and he told me, he said, yes, hey, they found some records of mom and dad inside the house. He worked for the oil center, and she works for an airline company just out of El Paso. And when we contacted both places, they said the parents had both failed to show up for work the same day, and they haven't been heard from or seen since. They said, man, that's weird. Cool, Ed.
Sure is weird.
That's the new meme. You were talking about like a really serious part, and I just almost started laughing because I was thinking of wacky. So funny. I can't do it. Okay.
Johnny said, yeah, they also went digging in the back. They found human remains. They found bones. They only ever found one skull, but they did find enough evidence to indicate a male and female, and through dental records found it was Kimberly's father. I said, man, that's freaky. He said, yeah, what's even weirder is that the bones had been chewed on. Animals do that, Johnny. Mice and rats and stuff will get in there and start chewing on the bones.
This guy is so condescending.
I know.
Like, fuck
I think
you.
he's my
He's like,
dad.
fuck, Johnny, get on our fucking level.
I know, right? Come on, Johnny.
Johnny's like, I'm just observing things.
And then Johnny said, the water is wet. And Ed said, well,
No.
of course it is wet.
No
Of course it
shit,
is."
Johnny.
Water isn't wet. What is water?
We're not starting the debate.
We're not doing this right now. Shut down.
We might as well ask, is the dress black and blue or white and gold?
No.
Water's not wet. Okay.
We're not starting this.
Anyway.
Or as the kids say, Yanni or Laurel.
Yanny.
Yanni.
I'm sorry, Yanni.
Vanjie.
It was,
Okay.
man, that's freaky.
Okay.
Man, so weird. He said, yeah, what's even weird is that the bones have been chewed on. Animals do that, Johnny. Mice and rats and stuff will get in there and start chewing on the bones. He said, yeah, these things had 2 fine razor-like teeth. No animal has razor-like teeth. I know.
I can't with this guy's attitude.
I love it.
I know.
He goes, I know.
I know. Johnny's like, I know. We
And
also
that's the point Johnny was done with my shit.
he goes, I know. We also found hair on the bones. And then I said, let me guess. He said, yep. Same kind of hair we found in the dog's cavity. Ew. He goes, and I don't know, man. It's kind of spooky. We're going to have to, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to have to go arrest Kimberly. I said, for what? He said, well, you tell me. The parents disappeared. We find the remains in the back. She's living in the house.
All right, maybe Johnny is fucking stupid.
Oh, criminal.
Dude, she's obviously very, like, mentally not okay right now.
Yeah, go arrest
we're
the
talking
fucking
seriously.
7-year-old for murdering 2 parents and a
She's
dog.
like 7.
Yeah.
She's
well,
like 7.
No, she's in middle school, so
Yeah.
she's probably, like,
12?
12.
You're
Yeah.
not 8.
No.
You're not, what kind of middle
She's
school
like
did you go
5.
She's
She's
basically.
basically a toddler.
She's a genius.
She was born last month.
The real question here is, how old is Kimberly?
The world may
So
not
she's
know.
12. So we're gonna
Either way, lock her up.
in
Lock
my
her
head she seems 12-ish, so.
Okay. I said, you're going to try and get it from her. He goes, yeah, I don't think she did it, but that's all the evidence I have right now. I said, man, I don't like that. He goes, I know. You want to go with me?
You want to go arrest your
this
child?
12-year-old.
Want to hang out, get some beer, golf?
They didn't say that. That wasn't part of the story.
That's some improv right there.
Okay, let's go.
I said, well, yeah, because she's going to be kind of screwed. I'll go with you. So we head over to Alpine, and when we get there, there's border control. There's a helicopter there, and we go inside, and the director is waiting for us, and he goes, yeah, Johnny called and said you guys were coming. We went to go get Kimberly ready, and she wasn't in her room, and Border Patrol's out looking for her. I said, what do you mean she wasn't in her room? We went in to get her, and she wasn't there. This is like a prison. How can she escape from here? Well, we don't know. Man, you guys are out here in the middle of nowhere. If she gets out of here, she's going to die out there. It's desert all around. Well, that's why we have the Border Patrol here. The helicopter looking for her. We got everything going. It's impossible. I said, I know. And he said, she was actually starting to get better. She started to talk to us a little bit. She was starting to eat more. We gave her a job in the kitchen. She was working. She seemed to be getting better. Except we had some problems with her because in the kitchen, she would always go into the meat locker, and they'd find her in there eating raw meat.
Same.
They talked to her, and she said...
I'm kidding.
I mean,
Delicious.
sushi.
Okay, sushi.
That's fish, though. Like,
They could just... They didn't specify the meat.
I mean, I have had raw meat on sushi.
What if she just
You
they
can
just
eat beef
open
kinda raw.
They open it up and she's just sitting there eating salmon sushi. And they're like, Kimberly!
how dare you
That's my sushi, Kimberly.
put down my spicy
Fuck out of
tuna
my
roll?
Okay.
All right, but okay, let's hold on a second because they said they had cameras in her room.
They do.
She just ghosted.
Well, let's look at the cameras.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, true. Okay. They talked to her and said, we need to cook this. It's unhealthy for you. So we head back to El Paso, and Johnny goes, you know what? They're going to go into that house tonight. And this is very common today, but remember this is a while back here. He says, they're going to take in this light, and they walk around the dark room, and they see if blood has been spilled, and it just shines. It's almost like a black light. He goes, we're going to go in there tonight and see if there's anything in there. Would you like to go? Yeah.
Why are they bringing this fucking
That's what
middle
I'm
school
saying.
teacher everywhere on this criminal
You're
investigation?
very right. That's the one thing that makes it like that's
I mean,
this is not real.
I can get the small town aesthetic where if you're like buds with the sheriff, you're like, you know, got
maybe
an all access
so.
pass to go everywhere. I guess.
mean, maybe so.
I mean, El Paso, it's a major Texas city, but it's also the smaller side of the major Texas city. So it's
Yeah.
like, I can imagine having that kind of
I
relationship.
guess so. I mean, I wouldn't know.
I mean, they went golfing.
I'm not from a little small
went
town.
golfing.
I guess they did go golfing, so maybe he's in on the circle now.
He's just a cop now.
That's what it takes to become a cop. Forget
El
the
Paso.
academy. Just become friends with one. You'll get that badge soon.
That happens in small towns, and like you just walk in, you're
Sheriff.
like, I want to be a cop, and they're like,
Deputy.
Here's your gun, go for it.
Do you know how to shoot?
No. Go.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Okay.
So there are 3 other officers, and they have this light. It's almost like they're holding up a floodlight. And we go up to the house. It's just starting to get dark. We start up on the 3rd floor in Kimberly's bedroom, and in the hallway there, and we're shining this light, and we're looking, and there's nothing. Just turned everything into a black and white movie. So we go down into the old wooden stairs, and we go to the 2nd floor, and there's the parents' bedroom and the hallway. We find nothing. Well, there's a little blood in the sink. Maybe the dad cut himself shaving or something. And then I was going first down the stairs into the main room, and the light was behind me. When I turned the corner, they brought the light, and they turned it to look through the hallway and see the kitchen. It almost looks like it lit up. And I said, man, look at that. It looks purple. They took the light in there, and blood had been spilled everywhere. It was on the floor. It was on the walls. It was on the ceiling. It was splattered. It was streaked. It was awful. Absolutely awful. So they turned the light off, and we turned the regular light on, and they start doing their check on the wooden floor. They cut out pieces and scrape bricks, and they start getting all this information together, and come to find out, Johnny told me they found human blood, they found animal blood, they found small pieces of bone, they found fingernails in the brick where someone had tried to, like, claw their way out of there, and they were just scraping their fingers across the brick. It was the most awful thing they'd ever seen. As on all things like this, when something becomes haunted, or somebody says there's a haunted house, or a spook house, or some girl killed her parents, young people your age think it's cool and like to go visit those places. Especially if you can drive and you have a girlfriend, because then they get scared and snuggle a little closer. We know how that works. So, Johnny says they're probably going to destroy the house.
Tear it down.
I mean, without solving anything, of course.
Have no fun. Teens just suck. I said, why is that? And he said, well, the kids are driving by and somebody's gonna get hurt, man. You know, they're throwing things at the house and we're probably gonna have to destroy the house. I said, you know, Johnny, there's something weird about when you were doing that blood thing. And he goes, well, what was that? And I said, you noticed the air conditioning vent? I said, what about, and he said, what about it? I said, we looked at the ceiling and there was blood on the ceiling, but around the air conditioning vent, there was no blood. I mean, it was like perfect. So why do you think that is? He said, I don't know. I have no idea. I said, that's a real old house. So they must have, well, they obviously built the second ceiling, but the air conditioning duct inside, put the air conditioning duct inside because they didn't have air conditioning at the turn of the century. Now remember, those air conditioners are the older air conditioners. Okay, they're rather large, the swamp cooler type, not like what we have now. So Johnny says, what do you think that's going on? And I said, I don't know, but we ought to go take a look. And I said, I ain't going up there. I said, Johnny, you're a police officer.
And Johnny's a dumbass.
Just to remind you once again.
He goes,
Johnny's a dumbass, apparently.
He goes, I'm not going up there, man. I said, well, don't you have people that do that? Yeah, we do. I said, well, okay, get them together. Don't you think you should go up there and take a look? I mean, don't you think that's kind of weird? He said, yeah, really, it is. So 2 officers who worked
like, attitude, Johnny.
there.
They sent a fucking SWAT team? Okay.
And they had a little scaffold so they could crawl up. We moved the air conditioning vent, and it was probably about the size of one of these classroom lights. And the 2 SWAT guys went up there and started crawling around and doing all this stuff, and we could hear them, and Johnny and I are talking, and Johnny goes, well, I said, you know what, Johnny, let's go take a look. And I said, I'm not going. I said, all right, I'm going. Well, if you're going, I'm going. I'm not staying down here by myself, says Johnny. I said, all right, well, let's take a look. I don't have a flashlight, though. He said, well, you know what? I remember this. He goes, I got a little pen flashlight. I got my big one, you know, my patrol flashlight. But the little one I use for when I write tickets and stuff. I said, I'll take that. That's fine. He said, I just put fresh batteries in, and it's working great.
He's really passionate
Thanks,
about
Johnny.
this pen light.
He loves this
I
pen
love
light.
a good pen light.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Fancy.
We crawled over the scaffold, and Johnny goes left, where the police officers went. And I said, well, I'm gonna go to the right, because he's, like, different. And as I start crawling...
Not like other girls.
You go to the right, I go to the left.
to the left. And as I start crawling through this air conditioning duct, I could see as far as from about here to that wall. And I had this flashlight going, and I got about halfway, and you could see this turn that went off to the right. And I got about halfway down that air conditioning vent, my flashlight went out, just like that. I'm hitting it, oh crap. So I start to go back out, because you can't see without it, but I see a glow. Right at the corner where it bends, I see a glow. I wonder where that is. So I slowly start crawling towards that glow. And the air conditioning vent goes off to the right, and it went so far back, and I couldn't even see it. It went into the darkness, and went about 10 feet in there was this recessed area. This is where the air conditioning and heating unit would blow the air up and bring it out into the house. And there was a glow coming from that area. So I decided to crawl and take a look at what the glow was. So I crawl a little bit more, and I get close to that recessed area, and I peek around in there, and I see a pair of feet. Then the feet moved. And then I was going to be the fastest fat man that ever crawled out of an elevator vent.
Okay.
But
That's a move.
but I couldn't help it. I thought, who is that?
What kind of feet?
What kind of feet?
Well, if it was like animal feet or like human
We're about to find out.
You're right.
So I looked, and sitting there was Kimberly. She had a candle in her hand, and that was what was causing the glow. She was looking at the candle, and when she saw me, she looked at me. She had this evil look on her face. And she was dirty, and she had blood on her fingers. She had blood in her mouth. I said, Kimberly. And then she looked around and said, shh. They're here. I said, who's here? The ones who live in the walls. I said, honey, there's nobody here. They're here. I said, honey, there's nobody here. Shh. Listen.
Hey! Listen!
No, we're going to cut that out right now.
And she said,
Hello!
listen! Okay, sorry.
I couldn't hear anything. I said, come on, Kimberly, we need to get off here. We need to leave. She follows me out. I yell up. Then they come down, and Johnny goes, what the heck just happened? Told him, he goes, how long was she? And I say, I don't know, Johnny, I just saw her. Well, Johnny wanted to put cuffs on her, but I said, don't, Johnny. I don't want to freak her out on us. I'll go with you downtown. They take her downtown. They arrest her for murder. They set up a trial. She's going to go to jail. Well, I, again, don't believe in ghosts. And I don't believe in things like that, but something is weird. I told Johnny, he said, she's going to have a good lawyer to get out of this one. And I said, she's going to have to have a good lawyer. And he's like, she's going to have a good one. She'll get out. I said, you know, Johnny, I took a lot of classes over at UTech, university over there in El Paso. A lot of history classes and a lot of Mexico and the borderlands and something weird. He said, what's that? I said, there's something weird about Fabens. And it's just starting to hit me now. There was an old mission in Fabens, and the priests in this mission were executed because supposedly they were disemboweling some of the local people. Johnny said, you're kidding me. And I said, no. He goes, can you bring the book? And I said, yeah. I still have the book. Yeet. I still have the book. It's called The Spanish Borderlands. So I brought the book and I showed it to Johnny. I said, matter of fact, here's a map of Fabens, an old map, and here's the Rio Grande. And he said, you know what? I got an idea. Johnny goes and gets a map of Fabens, a current map of Fabens, and he takes my old map that I had from about the 1600s and he blows it up. And he blows both maps up at about the same size and he circles. And I go, what's that?
And it was absolutely, definitely not the same place.
And he
Definitely
goes,
not.
that's where the mall is. No, he goes, that's where Kimberly's house is at.
Oh no.
Okay. And he lays it down and he takes the other map, the old map of Fabens, and he lays it down and he looks and he goes, okay, here's the mission. I said, yeah. And he takes a little pocket knife and he punches a hole through both maps, right through the mission and whatever's on the other side. He takes off the old map and there's a hole right there on Kimberly's house.
Okay.
Johnny said, that mission was exactly where Kimberly's house is right now. I said, okay. Then there's something going on right there in that house and it's not Kimberly. He goes, there's no way I can prove that. And I said, I know, but there's something going on in there. He goes, how are we going to find out? I said, I don't know. Don't you have one of those detectives, a sergeant, matter of fact? He came to our school one time. He deals with the paranormal and the witchcraft and all that, and he talks to kids.
Whoa.
Ew.
Let's pause right there.
In
Is
what
it the
school?
brothers from Supernatural?
Yes.
Is it the kid
But-
from Sixth Sense?
You're like, oh
Is
yes,
it Haley Joel Osment?
Okay, Haley Joel Osment, this is a little truth fact. Do you know this?
Absolutely.
He's the voice of Sora
Sora.
from the greatest video game ever,
Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, soon to be 3, Chain of Memories, Recoded, Coded.
Okay. I was just going to
and
say
it goes
he was the
on
voice
and
of Sora.
on and on.
Okay.
He said, yeah. I said, talk to him, see what he says. Tell him what I found out. Johnny goes, okay. So it takes about another week, and Johnny shows up at the school at just about the end of the class, and Johnny doesn't look real happy. So the bell rings and kids leave, and I said, Johnny, what's up? Well, I talked to the sergeant. I said, okay, what did he say? He wants to go to the house. I said, all right.
That's
says-
cool with me.
And he says,
He says, lit.
And then Johnny goes, yeet.
yeet. He goes, I go.
And he goes, this is a straight fire case. Like my mixtape.
Lit
dismissing
AF.
myself.
Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji.
Eggplant.
Eggplant. What emoji?
I love a good roasted eggplant.
Delicious. I love a good like eggplant parmesan, you know.
Yeah. It's just
Oh, I said, okay.
I said.
He wants to spend the night there.
no.
And I said, okay. Johnny goes, I ain't gonna do it.
I ain't gonna do it, Johnny.
Okay, the more that this story progresses, the more I am connecting with Johnny.
Honestly,
right?
Johnny is the smartest guy in this story.
I know.
I'm
We
not
keep
going
saying-
in that vent. I'm not sleeping in
I'm
that
not
house.
fucking doing
We
that.
keep saying he's a dumbass, but he's probably the
No,
smartest ass. in the
because
list.
see, Ed is a smart ass and is making Johnny seem like a
Johnny,
dumbass.
yeah.
But,
But
Johnny
just
is
wants to live. Johnny got
he's
kids. Johnny can't
reasonable.
be dying.
Johnny got things to do, places
Yeah,
to
he's
be.
like, I'm not fucking with that shit.
It's
little
called
live,
a
apparently,
monster. Okay.
Okay.
I ain't gonna do it. I said, Johnny, 3 grown men. You both have guns. I'm even gonna bring one of mine. He said, no, man. Why do we? I said, Johnny, I don't know. He knows something's going on. Well, sure enough, the sergeant meets us. I talked to the sergeant and I said, Sergeant, do you believe in ghosts and stuff? He goes, no, I don't. But I gotta prove that they're not there. What? I said, okay, that makes sense.
All right, but they already established that this guy is like the witchcraft and paranormal guy.
I don't believe in that,
That comes
shit.
and talks to elementary school kids.
I fucking hate the paranormal. Anyone that believes in it's a fucking idiot.
All right, to be fair,
Johnny.
that's half of these paranormal shows these days.
Yeah.
You're right.
I said, okay, that makes sense.
Looking at you, BuzzFeed.
They were the
Shane,
original
my
Shane and
day.
Ryan. To be honest.
He goes, I want to spend the night there and I want to see what's happening. I said, sure, I'm in. Johnny, reluctantly, was in. So we get to the house at night and we brought a sleeping bag because in the main room there were 2 couches and the sergeant stayed on the sleeping bag on the floor. We brought a deck of cards and you know what? All houses make noises, or apartments, or wherever you live. They settle. The wood warps, creaks, all houses make noise. You hear your house making noise all the time. Weird noises, sure, but nothing that would draw any suspicion. So we're playing cards, and it's about 2 o'clock or something like that in the morning, and we're finally, that's it, man, we're going to bed. I don't know. I was an hour later, I wake up, and the sergeant's sitting up, and I look at him and I say, Sarge, what's up? He said, shh, listen. I don't hear anything, man. He said, shh, listen. It's upstairs. I said, let me wake up Johnny. He said, no, shh. He goes, I'll be right back.
And that's when he died.
Horror movie trope.
I said, let me go with you. He said, no, you gotta stay.
Oh my god, is he writing a horror movie script?
Okay. I'm ignoring you because this is a moment. So he gets up and turns on his little pen flashlight and I can see him going up the stairs. So I kind of lay back on the couch and I'm listening and I can hear him walking and it's quiet. I could hear him walking a little bit more and I hear him going up to the 3rd floor. It's quiet. It's quiet. And I fall back to sleep. It starts getting light. I wake up. Sergeant's not there. I wake up Johnny. Johnny, what? I said, Sergeant's not here. What happened? I don't know, man. He woke up around 3 o'clock. I don't know. Said he was hearing noises and he went upstairs. Why didn't you wake me? I said, he told me not to. He told me not to go with him. Well, that sergeant's never been seen or heard from since. He left behind a wife and 2 kids, and he was on Unsolved Mysteries about 6 years ago. They're still trying to find him. Although I think we know what happens to him later in the story. They decide to tear the house down. That's it. It's causing too many problems. We talked to Kimberly's lawyer. We kind of explained that we feel that there's something going on in the house. We can't explain it completely, but there's something going on that might prove Kimberly's innocence. The lawyer starts talking to the police, and he says, hey, you guys have cameras, don't you? They said, yeah. Can't we set up cameras in that house and see what's going on? Well, sure. It's not like...
think about that earlier before they stayed in the fucking house. It's
How did... we completely glossed over how she got out of the hospital.
even though they had cameras and stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
they weren't being recorded.
I'm telling you.
Maybe it was just like security cameras.
But that doesn't record? No?
Maybe they didn't.
It
have
might just
such
be a
a-
live feed to somebody that may or not be watching.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Watch
She
it.
just opens the door and walks out.
She's
Yeah.
like, bye, bitches.
I'm going
out.
Audi club going
I'm
up
going Audi for
on a
100.
Tuesday.
It is.
Bye.
Is it still Tuesday?
My name
No,
is
it's actually Wednesday
Kimberly.
It's a Wednesday now.
That was inappropriate because now it's a Wednesday.
Club going up on a Wednesday. Okay.
We're the
Anyways, that'll
whitest
get cut.
kids
That's gonna
you
get
know. Well, sure. It's not like the cameras that watch students every day. These are a little bit different. You have 1 camera per TV screen and it's black and white. It's not color. This is a little bit before your time. And they said, yeah, we can set them up, but I know what good it's going to do to you. And I said, you know what? I'll tell you what good it'll do. If we put Kimberly back in the house because whatever's happening is happening to her, that Kimberly in that house will never know. So they set cameras up in the house. They put cameras in her bedroom, the parents' room, hallways, stairways, kitchen, front room, front door, so you can see the door, back door. Now, this is stuff I can't explain. They set these cameras up and we go and pick up Kimberly. The lieutenant approves. Kimberly can stay in the house a week. After that, she's going to trial. We restocked the refrigerator, new refrigerator by the way. We put new stuff in it. We put new sheets on. We do all the stuff. We go pick up Kimberly. We go in a squad car. Of course, she gets in the back, and I'm in the front with Johnny. And as we're driving from El Paso to Fabens, Johnny goes, "She's looking at me." I said, "She ain't looking at you, dude. You're too ugly. Don't worry about it." No, no, man. She's looking at me. I said, "Just relax." So we go drive up to the house, and I get out and I open the door. I said, "Kimberly, you're home, honey." She got out and she looked at the house. I said, "Do you want to go in?" She didn't say anything. She just walked up the steps and she looked at the door and it opened. I thought Johnny was going to drive off without me. I get in the squad car. He goes, "Did you see that?" I said, "Same thing happened to you, man. Could have been a gust of wind. Come on, there's always a reason. Doors don't just open, Johnny." "Well, I saw that." I said, "Johnny." Well, Johnny's wife came over for dinner with me and my wife, and we were having dinner and we were talking. I said, "Johnny, what's going over there?" "Nothing, man. We got a couple days left and we got to put her back in jail." "Anything going on?" "Not a thing." There were 2 police officers in a van parked about 2 houses up in front of one of the abandoned houses. And they're in the back of that van watching this thing. They got rotating officers going in there. They said nothing's going on. They said, no, they're writing everything down, but she just walks around. She eats a little bit. That's it. You can see her lips moving. You know, that's it. I said, "Do you want to go over there and take a watch?" Johnny said, "Sure." The guys in the van would appreciate that. So we drive over to the van. It's kind of a stormy night. We park in front of the house, I'm assuming. They didn't say. With my truck, and go over to the van and knock, and these guys come out, and we said, "Hey, you guys want to take over my truck and go and get something to eat? We'll take over for a couple hours." Yeah, we'd appreciate it. So they get in my truck and they drive off, and I don't know. It's probably about midnight or something like that. We get inside this van. The front was facing that way, and all the TV screens are here, and there's 2 seats and a small desk, and of course the 2 chairs to drive it. We're in there looking and watching all the monitors, and monitor 1 was Kimberly's bedroom, and you could see her. She was sleeping. In the hallway and the stairway, you can see from all these different monitors. So we were looking. I said, "Johnny, what's that notebook?" He goes, "Well, anytime something happens, officers write it down." So he's flipping through it. She got up. She walked around, mumbling noises. She did this, blah, blah, blah. And he's looking, and he's telling me, he says, they said something about dog. I said, "What dog?" "I don't know, something about dog." I said, "There's no dog in that house, Johnny. The dog's dead, matter of fact." He said, "Well, there's a dog living under her bed. It comes out from under her bed." I said, "Where? Read it to me." So he goes back and said, "Let's see, right here. Dog licks her hand." I said, "Can you go back, check that tape?" And he went, "Yeah." So we had a little video thing. He puts the tape in and he rewinds it to that time. And sure enough, you see Kimberly walking into her bedroom. She sits at the edge of the bed. She lies down with her hand hanging down. Dog comes out, licks her hand. She crosses her hand across her chest, goes to sleep. Johnny goes, "See, there's a dog." I said, "No, that wasn't a dog." Mm-hmm. "Well, what was it?" I said, "Replay it. Can you go slow-mo?" He said, "Sure." So he goes slow-mo, and I said, "Look at that dog. Look at that dog." He goes, "Why? What's wrong with it?" I said, "Look at its eyes, man. Look at the eyes on that dog. I mean, dogs have white on their eyes, but it's way in the back. You can't see it." I said, "It's human eyes on that dog." Johnny said, "Maybe it's a raccoon." I said, "It ain't a raccoon, man, but what's really weird, that in the frame by frame, look at that tongue, man. The dog comes out, whatever it was, the dog comes out and it licks her hand, but it's like this long, skinny tongue. And it wraps around her hand and then it's gone." And Johnny's like, "That's weird, man." I said, "I know." And as he's talking and we're looking at the film, I look up and say, "Hey, she's up, she's up." So we stop that one and we look and Kimberly gets up. She stands. She walks to the corner of her room and she's staring at the camera. She's just staring at it. And Johnny goes, "She sees the camera, man." I said, "Johnny, she can't see that. The camera's too small. There's no way she can see that." Then what's she staring at? I don't know. She's staring at the camera. Look at her. And all of a sudden, blink. There's a freeze frame. In other words, the last picture that we had of her was a still picture. Johnny goes, "We got a freeze frame. The camera's out." He goes, "Watch the rest of the cameras. Make sure she's not out of her room." I said, "I'm watching, Johnny. Don't worry. Everything's cool." He said, "Watch the hallway." Johnny, she's still in her room. He's taking the camera trying to get it fixed and he's popping in. And I said, everything's cool, Johnny. Don't worry. She's not in the hallway. Everything's cool. He's hitting it. Bam!
Did you have to?
Yeah.
Isaiah goes, first of all.
You can meet me outside.
All of a sudden, the van just rocks. It just goes boom and rocks like 2 feet. And Johnny goes, what was that? I said, I don't know. Somebody hit the van. And he's still looking at the camera and he goes, keep watching the monitor. He's going to get out to look to see who's outside. I'm watching the monitors and all of a sudden I see Johnny to my left and he's looking at me. Well, actually, he wasn't looking at me. I turned and he was looking past me. I said, Johnny? I looked to my right and Kimberly's in the van. I don't believe that people can float, but she was right here. I mean, right there, and she had her hands out and she was looking and her eyes were like 2 little red lights and she was hissing. She said, why are you watching me? And then she just came at me and I put my hands up and she bit into my hand. I mean, she tore this hand up, bit a big old chunk out of it. We never found it, so hope she enjoyed it.
Does it say that?
Yeah.
Does it say that?
Yes.
Mood.
Me, a horror film. And I'm wrestling into the ground. And I mean, this girl doesn't even weigh 100 pounds, and Johnny's even bigger than I am, and we cannot get her down. She's hissing. She's growling at us. I don't know where that strength came from. Johnny took his belt off, and we tied her hands up, and then I said, open the door, get her out of here. So he opens up the door. We get her out. We lay her on the ground. She's slithering around and hissing, and it was awful. Johnny goes, what just happened? I said, I don't know. You just said somebody hit the van. He goes, did she come down the stairs? I said, Johnny, she didn't even come out of her room. I watched every camera, even after the bump, and then I looked and she was in the van. Well, how'd she get in? I don't know, Johnny. I said, she opened the door. And I said, I unlocked the door to open it. I said, well, she got on the driver's side. It was locked too. I can't explain how she got in the van. I can't explain it. Squad car comes in. We take her down. Squad car takes her down to the police station. I went through about 3 surgeries on my hand. She's going to go to jail. The house is going to be destroyed. Evidence looks like it was her. Now, I guess it was 2 weeks into it, probably about a month. Johnny goes, you're going to have to go to court, you know. I said, yeah, I know. You're going to have to testify against her. I said, I'm not going to testify against her. I just think something's making her do whatever she's doing. But you know you're going to have to. I said, yeah, I know. But Johnny, when's the house going down? He said, next week. I said, Johnny, something's got my curiosity. He said, what? I said, what was under Kimberly's bed?
That's how you die.
You did, boy.
Johnny-
Where's the sergeant?
Did.
True.
Johnny said, I don't know and I don't care. I said, Johnny, we could go up there and look. He goes, nope. Nope, we don't need to go look. I don't care.
Me.
I said, come on, we'll go during the day, Johnny. Nope. I said, come on, I just want to see what's under the bed. And I said, all right, fine, but this is the last time. It's not. I said, okay. It was a Sunday. We didn't even go golfing that Sunday. Wow. We drove over to the house. We go inside. It still had that musty, burnt smell to it. We go up the stairs, go to Kimberly's bedroom. I said, okay, look under the bed, Johnny. He said some words I cannot repeat. Fuck? Okay. I said, all right, I'll look under the bed. You lift the bed and I'll look. Give me your flashlight. So I'm looking and there's nothing there. I said, pull the bed out, Johnny. So you pull the bed out. We're looking on the floor is a long hair. Same kind of hair that was found in the dog and found in the bones of Kimberly's parents. Johnny takes a bunch of it together, makes a sample of it, puts it in a little sample folder. We're looking around and I said, look at that wall, Johnny. Look how weird that is. I said, what? I said, look at the bricks here. The mortar's loose right here. Sure enough, you could grab a brick and pull it out, and you could pull out all the bricks out and stack them up, and it made a hole you could crawl through. These houses were built at the turn of the century. They were built with double walls, mostly for insulation, but you could put piping and stuff like that in there, electrical wires in there. We pull all that out, and there was this, like, a walkway. Real thin and narrow, but it was a walkway. We shine out our flashlight in there, and it was real dark. I said, Johnny, look at this. He said, I ain't going in there. I said, come on, Johnny. That is cool. There's got to be something going on. We can find this out.
Johnny.
Janny. Well, what got Johnny to go was that as soon as I turned the flashlight on and looked down, I found a ballpoint pen. Laying there, a ballpoint pen. I pick up the ballpoint pen and I shine the flashlight on it. I said, Johnny, look at this. The pen said El Paso Police Department. It had the sergeant's name on it. He says, we gotta go. He says, we gotta go. I said, yeah. He says, we gotta go.
Claps for Johnny. Common sense.
Johnny is my real hero.
I know.
I said, yeah. We
Tell
gotta go
yourself.
now.
Says yeah with a Minnesotan accent again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
We gotta go now. So we're in there and we're crawling around and the wall turned to the right. It was at the corner of the house. It was real cold and damp in there. When we turned, we hit the chimney. There's just bars sticking out like stairs going down to the second floor. We crawled down there and then it went down to the first floor. What was weird is that it keeps going. We shined the flashlight and I said, Johnny, look at this. He took a quarter out of his pocket and threw it down there and you couldn't even hear the quarter hit. The hole just kept going. And I said, Johnny, there's like a cave down there. He said, what is that?
And he goes, oh, you know, it's like a it's like a hole inside of a mountain or like a...
Johnny's like, I know what a cave is. I just don't know what you mean.
Poor Johnny.
He says, I don't know. It's just a cave. It's like an entrance. He actually does clarify what a cave is. I said, I got a buddy who's a spelunker. He loves this kind of crap. Why are we doing this, Ed? He's always going into caves and stuff. Let me call him up. Why? Okay. So we get out of here. We call him up and he goes, yeah, I'm in. Give me a couple hours. He shows up. We take him all the way to the bottom. We grab some rope. We ask him, what do you think that is? He said, it's a natural cave. We tell him the story of what's happened and he goes, I'm not worried about that. I said, okay, just so you know. He goes, I'm not worried about that. So we hook up the rope and all the rope's color-coded. Every 50 feet is a different color. That way we know how far he's going down. He has a hat on. He's got a light on. And he's got his flashlight. We set up the equipment and he's got a helmet on with a light on it. And he's got a flashlight. And we start to lower him and lower him and lower him. And as he's going down, there's like this crank thing that we're lowering him with. He's in this huge room. But it's kind of, I don't know, smoky or something. And we're lowering him, and you can hear him going, this is cool, this is weird, man. And he's shining his flashlight, and he goes down, and we can hardly see the light anymore. He stops at about 250 feet, so we wait. 45 minutes go by. An hour. Johnny goes, hey, something's wrong, pull up the rope. I pull up the rope, and I say, he's not on the rope, man. Pull it up, something's wrong. We yell down there, nothing. We start pulling up on the rope, and I'm cranking it, getting the rope up, and it gets to the end, and it's wet. And the harness that he had on him was gone. Johnny is shining his flashlight and the bottom of the rope was covered in blood. The whole harness had been ripped off. Oh man, does this open a can of worms. Johnny has to call down the police department. Next thing you know, they're going to take the house down. They remove the house off the entrance and it's a natural cave mouth into the ground. National Geographic comes out. They want to do an investigation. They send a team down there. It gets in the paper and there are people all over there. National Geographic said it was a huge room about the size of, I don't know, a couple 100 yards wide, long. And when they got down in there, nobody was found, no harness was found, nothing was found down there. It was very musty. It was very well. When they came out, they'd have like ash on their skin. They said there were little pockets that kept going, but they were too big to get in there, but they could hear noises. They had no idea what it was. Because it caused a lot of problems, they decided to seal it off. If you go to Fabens, in fact, one of my students brought me a picture of this last year. They sealed it off with a big concrete barrier and a big metal plate, so nobody can go in there anymore. It would be nice to say that the story ends this way because Kimberly did go on to trial and she was found guilty of murder. And because of the popularity of this thing happening in El Paso, the trial was brought to Arizona. That's how I became familiar with Arizona and fell in love with Arizona and decided to move here. But Kimberly was found guilty and she was sent to a prison, a female prison, close by. We move here. Johnny and I stay in contact, always talk about the Kimberly deal, how weird it was. So he comes by, he's actually going to LA with his kids. So he stops by with the wife and stays with us a couple days. We're sitting around having dinner and Johnny says, so did you hear about Kimberly? I said, don't start, dude. He said, no, seriously, did you hear about her? What happened? Well, they put her in a prison. They put her in solitary confinement. They wouldn't let anyone near her. After about a year, she requested a cellmate. She started to talk to people. She seemed friendly enough. The next morning after the first night, she had a cellmate. They went up to her cell and only one person was there. They opened the door and on the bottom bunk, they turned the woman around and she had been completely disemboweled. Her tongue had been taken out. 2 fine, razor-like objects had disemboweled her. They found long hair inside her body cavity. In the very corner of the cell, it seemed somebody had come from the outside in and had removed a brick, and they followed it down into the sewer lines, and that was the last anybody had seen or heard of Kimberly. Nobody knows what's happened to her since then or where she's been. I think it was close to maybe a week after Johnny told me this. Now you pick up the telephone and there's somebody on it. So I picked up the phone and somebody was on it. It was like a shh. I said, hello? You believe? You believe? I thought it was one of those religious calls. I said, yeah, I believe, man. And it said, we're watching you. I said, what? It said, we're watching you. Click. I said, all right, one of my students playing a prank. So I called the operator and I said, hey, can you tell me who that caller was? I said, oh, you didn't have a phone call, mister. I said, yes, I just had a phone call. Did your phone ring? I said, no, the phone didn't ring, but I picked it up and somebody was on it. We were talking. I'm sure you did not have a phone call. Okay, bye.
It literally just says, okay, bye.
Okay, bye. So I'm telling the story at the beginning when Hamilton, the school that he's telling the story at, first opened up. And after the first day, I was sitting at my desk and the phone rings. It was a front office and they said, there's a man here to see you. He needs to talk to you about Kimberly. Okay. It's a parent. Oh, crap. The parent comes up, he sits down, he introduces himself, and he says, I'm a preacher. I said, well, that's great. I don't give many visits from any of them. He said, I heard your story. My daughter told it to me. I said, did you get the whole thing? No, but I'd like to come and listen to your story tomorrow. I said, sure, absolutely. All parents are welcome. He came the next day and listened to the story and he says, do you know what the hounds of hell are? I said, never heard of them. He said, they do the devil's evil deeds and they live amongst us. I said, I don't know. He goes, in Mexico, they're called chupacabra. They see them at night. They see them running around. They're ape-like creatures. I said, I've never heard of them. He said, that's exactly what you're talking about. I said, well, how does that translate into Kimberly? He said, they do the devil's evil deeds. Okay. The next morning, Justin, another student who went here, throws a newspaper in front of me and says, look at this. On the front, this happened 5 years ago, it says, woman kills children in Gilbert. I said, sad story, dude, but what's this about? Why does he sound like an angsty teen?
I know,
Okay,
right?
sad story, bruh. And he goes, keep reading. So I'm reading it, and it said there was no father at the house, but they were looking for the maid. Felt she was an accessory. Her name was Kimberly. The student says, that's her. I told you, don't get too deep into the story. You're going to start believing too much. Just leave it alone. He goes, no, man, that's her. I said, leave it alone. It's okay. Remember that story I just told you? I guess another month or so went by, and this time the phone rings, and my wife says, it's for you. I said, who is it? It's one of your students, some girl. I said, okay, hello. Shh. That fuzzy sound. I said, who is this? We're watching you. I said, you're watching me? How can you be watching me? We live in the walls. Look at your... Watch. You'll see our eyes. Click. My wife said, what'd they say? I said, nothing. She goes, who was it? I said, nobody. She said, how come you're white as a ghost? I said, I don't know, I don't feel good. The next year here at school, we had a young lady named Giovanna. She's a cheerleader, and Giovanna said, hey, Mr. H, we're going to have a thing for the freshman orientation. We're going to be here all night. Can you tell the Kimberly story? And with the freshmen, she said, yeah. I said, okay, sure, I'll do it.
Important addition to the story.
He's like, I have qualms, but I'm not going to follow up on them. We had like 100 people. Well, I ended up getting drawn for a deer hunting tag, and if you know me, I'd rather go hunting than do anything. So I told them, I'm sorry, I can't tell the story. I'll do it later, but I'm going hunting. So I went hunting. Okay. dick.
Bye.
Monday, I come to help register students, and Giovanna runs up to me and she goes, "Oh my God, did you hear what happened?" And I went, "What?" "It was Kimberly." And I went, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, she was here." I said, "How do you know?" "Because at midnight, we were all in the gym, and I guess there were 200 students in there, not just 100, and somebody told the Kimberly story, and the lights went out." I said, "Honey, that's a coincidence. Things like that happen." No. It all went out. I said it probably went out everywhere, not just here. Right next to me was one of the counselors. She lives almost across the street from me. And I told her, I said, because when I get home from the hunt, my wife said, "Hey, gotta restyle the clocks. We had a power surge and the lights went out for a while." I said, "Okay," and I did. I said, "Honey, they went off at my house. They went off everywhere." The counselor said, "They didn't go off at my house and I live right next to you." I said, "No, come on." She goes, "They didn't. All my clocks are fine." I got on the phone and called Chandler Utilities, and I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me if on Saturday night there was a power surge over here at Hamilton High School?" Yes, there was. All power went out for about an hour and a half, and we have no idea why." "Okay, any place else in town?" "Nope, not at all." I said, "Okay, can you check this address?" And I gave them my address. "I'll be darned, yours went out too." "Thank you. I think."
Ain't no
You're
This
like,
is some spooky, ooky dooky, creepy, crazy shit.
creepy crawly.
I don't like this.
We're deep in.
Are you
We're
creepy?
deep.
About
We're
250
almost
feet.
done. My wife doesn't like me telling these stories. Matter of fact, my wife went out of town Monday because she knew I was telling this story. My wife is just like Johnny. She believes everything. We were married when this happened, and she says when I tell the story at night, I sleep real soundly. She says I'll get up in the middle of the night and step in bed, and I'll start talking in a language that she's never heard. She says she's tried to wake me up, and I'm just in another world. She says it scares her, and she doesn't like that, and she says, "Please quit telling the story." I said, "Well, I try, but the kids won't let me. They threaten to beat me up, so I gotta tell the story."
You're a grown-ass man, sir.
I'm afraid of a bunch of high school students.
So she actually went out of town this week, and the reason she went out of town this week, last year, when I was telling the story, I came home the last day, my wife was sitting on the couch and just staring, and I said, "Babe, what's wrong?" "Did you tell the story today?" I said, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "Come here." We went upstairs, and the vent was hanging off of the wall. And she goes, "I came up here, and I heard a noise, and the vent's hanging off." And I said, "It just fell out. I'll put it back in." "No, because I walked in the bathroom, and I was looking in the mirror, and there was someone behind me looking in the mirror as well." I said, "Babe, that's your imagination. The story is getting you worse than the kids." "I saw it. Please quit telling the story." The phone rings, and my wife obviously wouldn't answer it. I answered it, and it was the same shh. I said, "Who is this, and what do you want?" "You better believe. You better believe because we're here." Click. I come to school the next day. I walk in. I turn the lights on over there. I read, get ready for the day, and somebody is in the room. Somebody's sitting at one of the desks. I said, "Hey, who are you? How'd you get in here?" Everything's quiet. I walk over and turn on the light. Whoever was there is gone. This year, that same desk has been turned around every morning when I come in, facing the opposite way. I put them all against there, and when I wake up in the morning, I had 2 of my students with me. When I came in the morning, I had 2 of my students with me. That desk was upside down on top of another desk facing the wall over there. In March of this year, one of our coaches, Mr. Clark, his wife teaches science over here. He was wanting to hear the story, and I was telling it, and we were pig hunting, and he goes, "Your kids believe that?" And I said, "Well, it's a true story, man. It happened." And he goes, "That's weird." We're on this pig hunt, and we're coming to the Sandman Well, and there's a little road, and all of a sudden I look off to the side, and there's a Harley Davidson and a young lady standing there. We pull over there, and we say, "Ma'am, can we help you?" "Yeah, gear shift lever came off the Harley." I said, "We can fix that." And she said, "I can't find the screw." I said, "We got screws in the truck, we can fix it." And I look at her and I said, "Ma'am, I don't mean to be sexist or anything. You're kind of small to be on a big old Harley." She goes, "I like them, they're great." I said, "You can't even hold this thing up." And she goes, "Yeah, sometimes." So we get to talking. I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "Up in Tucson." I said, "Interesting." And Coach Clark goes, "I think they mean Tucson." "Well, I'm from Tollefsrud originally." She goes, "Oh, I was too." And Coach Clark says, "What street you live in?" "Sawala." I lived there. Next thing you know, they went to the same high school together. They were talking about their teachers and that other stuff. We get ready to leave, and she tries to offer me money for helping her. I said, "No, ma'am, happy to help you." She goes, okay, well, I work for Bank 1 in Tucson, and if there's anything I can do, let me know. I said, my wife works for Bank 1. Really? Who's your wife? And I said, Chris Hermansky. Yeah, I know her well. I know her very well. We go to leave, and she says, my name is Kimberly. We get in the truck, she starts driving, and we're not down the road 100 yards, and Clark goes, what'd she say her first name was? I said, come on, Coach, Kimberly is a very common name. Nope, it's weird. She knew everything about my school. She knew everything about my teachers. I don't remember her. I said, come on, you're worse than... No. Then how'd she know your last name? I don't know. She knows my wife. Call your wife. He gives me his cell phone, so I call. Do you know a Kimberly that works for Bank 1? No. Can you find out if there's a Kimberly that works there? Maybe you met her at a conference and don't remember her. Yeah, sure. She calls back about 45 minutes later, and she goes, there's no Kimberly working for Bank 1, never has been. Friday, we're going to watch a football game, and Coach Clark on the bus in front of me. Next thing I know, he stands up, he turns around and says, dude, you're not lying. I told you, man, it's a true story. You were there for one. He goes, look at this. And this is the newspaper he shows me, and he goes, look at that. So I start reading it. Woman seen in Gilbert wearing a long white dress walking around the canal in Elliott and Gilbert Road. Talking to residents, they've seen her here for a long time, even when she was a teenager. The article goes on and says she was probably looking for some dead children, if you remember my student's story. It goes further and says the father out there to see who she was. He comes back and says, I didn't see anybody. The mom and the daughter say he walked right by her. She was wearing a long white dress and it looked like she was floating. In the article here it says he never saw anybody and they said they see her all the time. The problem with this story is that it gets the best of you and you start thinking about it too much. When you're home alone and it's dark outside and you start hearing noises in your house, you start thinking about the story. When you look up at the vents and you see something, you start thinking about this story. When you're lying in bed and your hand is off the side, and your poor dog licks your hand and you kill it. This story is a story. If you want to think about it too much, you'll become part of it. And tonight, when you turn off the light, I don't want you to remember a thing I said. Have a great day, guys. See ya.
Man, that whole last end, we all went silent. We were just listening, like.
I
You
give
okay?
it
No, I'm not.
4 out of 10.
Fine.
I am not.
Give it 4
I'm
out of 10.
sleeping with the lights on.
So yeah, no, that's the essence of a good creepypasta right
That
there.
one's a good one.
That one and the normal porn for normal people those are both pretty up there.
No.
Some
The
are just
normal
odd.
porn for normal people, that one was good. This one genuinely has me afraid to go to sleep tonight.
Really?
Yay!
Not even joking. I hate
Good.
all of you.
I guess I've listened to it enough times
so
that
I
it
knew where it was
doesn't.
going.
Yeah. He does really creepy voices in it too, like in the actual thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Well, I'm
tried,
not
but
gonna
he's
listen to it.
way better at it than I am. I was like, I'm being so campy, but he goes
No,
for
yeah.
it.
So yeah, I'm sorry, you guys.
It's my favorite one.
It's also past midnight right now, so we're
One.
this is very authentic right now. Well, I think that's good. I think that's wrapping it up. I hope y'all enjoyed that creepy
I know I
pasta.
did not.
Isaiah's like, fuck you all, I'm never doing this again.
I mean,
You're like, you said it, not me.
I think we all know how to close this out. I'll lead.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit,
Stuff.
Tumblr.
Make sure you like, rate, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to let us know what you think. Leave a comment down below to let us know what you think. And
Want some more lady killers and accomplices videos?
let us know. We like
Isaiah
these
goes,
a lot.
I don't want any more of these.
just as long as I'm not hearing a story about a freaking girl in the wall.
Fucking chupacabras.
Look, stop. No.
Okay, well I think that's all we got for you guys today. Yay, we love you.
Send us some love. We're very tired now.
Yes, dude, me and Kaylin have recorded 5 videos today. Literally 5.
So we don't have to record for so long.
I know.
They deserve your love and appreciation. If you don't, I will find you.
Isaiah's our biggest supporter.
I'm like they're the momager. I'm like the
It
Chris Jenner of the group.
Whoa.
Oh my god, Isaiah's our Kris Jenner.
I think that's right.
That's right. Am I Kylie? Am I Kendall?
Neither, because you have talent.
Oh.
Okay, well have a